army having attacked the army camps. So they were also using secure radios, so we were unable to detect such occurrences. But we had carefully informed and advised our troops whenever they went for the attacks to use only the secure radios. And over and above, as Brigadier Nogueira said, they were observant about the electronic signature given by our brigades or divisional formations. So we had advised our troops not to talk too much over the radios until such time the surprise is lost. So otherwise what happens is, if you activate more number of radio transmissions, then amongst them there will be non-secure radios as well. So you gives your location electronically to the enemy. So that means, as he said, they have forward observers in suicidal role, so they will direct their own artillery onto our locations very precisely. So these advices were continuously given, and the commanders from signals, they were operating right in front with the infantry officers. So these advices given in continuous basis ensured that our people were not violating these instructions to a greater extent. So in the meantime, whenever they used these things, what we did was we consulted the ground commanders, and we jammed whatever their communications as and when required, as I briefed. Otherwise, we mainly resorted to the secure communications. Over and above, we used the CDMA technology, and at that time, though it was available in the other countries, we assumed that detection of CDMA communication was not available in Sri Lanka. So we took it for granted at that time. I should divulge, because the infantry officers were also under the impression that CDMA was fully secure. But since we did not have any other alternative, we also, supported them to think accordingly, but we were favored. But if the LTT had used CDMA phones, we always encouraged, because we had other systems devised to track them whenever they use CDMA phones, so we could engage them through indirect means or by sending special forces to those targets which we had done.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please. Yes, Professor.
Thank you for those presentations. Vice Marshal, your description helped me to understand something I found absolutely astonishing, which is the record of the Sri Lanka Air Force in what you termed interdictions. Frankly, reading what's happening in the rest of the world now, I think your record was absolutely the best in the world. Because I think up to December 2008, I used to monitor this, to something like 460 interdictions. And even the LTT only claimed that in, I think, 29 of them there were civilian casualties. And most of those were 1 or 2. And that's just fantastic. But can I ask, did the Army and the Navy identify for you military targets, which given the constraints you had, did you sometimes refuse to take them out?
Yes, Professor, thank you for the question and your comment initially. That did happen, and I'm sure my counterparts in the Army will confirm this if you speak to them, that there were several occasions, even when we received the target for interdiction from the Army. Like I said, we had our own strict evaluation process, which we went through. It took time, minimum 24 hours, and there were instances where we had to initially sometimes put off engagement of that target till we had further details, till we verified it further, till we observed it further and cleared it for engagement. There also have been occasions where we have had to show facts which maybe the Army got on intelligence, the target, and didn't know, maybe there were some details missing in it, which we came across when we observed the targets, and we had to point this out to the Army. Of course, we all worked very closely, myself with the Director of Operations Army, for example, and we had to show those results from the observations over a period of time and decline to take that target. Yes, it did happen.
Thank you. Yes, please, from the rear. There was, I think, 2 speakers.
It was very interesting and useful to listen the details of the anti-terrorist operations resulting in defeating the LTTE. I'd like to say a few words as representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation. Sri Lanka attained resounding success in the fight against terrorism, and Russia supported the course of the government of this country aimed at putting an end to the armed conflict in the north and the east of this island, and welcomed return of the peace to the wounded land. We highly appreciate efforts of the government of Sri Lanka to ensure reconciliation and to restore social and economic infrastructure in the northern and eastern regions of this country, and to provide necessary humanitarian assistance. We believe that the primary responsibility for investigating the events that occurring during anti-terrorist operations in Sri Lanka lies with its government. We think that this achievement of Sri Lanka is in line with the most important counterterrorism document, UN Global Counterterrorism Strategy, which was unanimously adopted by the 60th session of the UN General Assembly 5 years ago in 2006. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, please, there are another arm being raised in the rear. Anybody else, please? I know you all are waiting to go for lunch. Please, yes, please, could you kindly get up and speak? Okay, go ahead, please.
A remarkable feature of this war was the low casualty rate of civilians. Could you kindly explain how you maintain that strategy, notwithstanding a human shield being adopted by the LTTE, please? Mr. Ralph Noguera, please.
Particularly during the final stages where we had a close quarter battle with the LTTE cadres, we had very strictly enforced rules of engagement. And as I explained, although we had 7-8 divisions, we did not forward as many, too many troops. And few of the battalions were fighting and were asked to resort to precision targeting. Actually, we employed snipers, marksmen, to identify only the terrorists and target them. But then we have done away with the using of, by the final stages, use of heavy weapons, weapons of greater lethality, artillery, air strikes. And from our side, from armed forces side, those are the measures adopted to ensure zero civilian casualties during confrontations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have one last question. Anybody?
It's a corollary to the question the gentleman asked. There have been allegations that during the last stage of the battle, even the LTT had placed their own guns in the middle of civilians, upwards of 330,000. In spite of that, how did you manage to keep the casualty rate under minimum or zero casualty rate?
Yeah. Now, actually the casualties occur in these circumstances when you employ mass against the insurgents when they are embedded with the people. Now, this is why we change it all. We change the face of our infantry and we transformed into small groups. Because small groups definitely are stealthier, could get closer to the terrorists, they have a less signature, less visibility. So we transform. Precision was what guided us in making these small group concepts, and it contributed immensely to the reduction of casualties or achieving the 0 point. And the other factor is the timely and correct employment of special operations. That was something. If you look at the operations conducted, you find that at times of sensitivity, when we had to reduce firepowers due to the civilian factor, it was special operations who took the lead. And special operations, most of the time, conducted these operations at night because they were better equipped and, of course, had the skill. So we changed our whole thing, the face of our operations, of our infantry, and this is how we did it. Have I answered the question? Or?
I think, thank you very much, Ralph. I think we are all short our time. Everybody waiting for lunch. We'll conclude the session, ladies and gentlemen. I think this session was very, very interesting, productive and fruitful. I take the opportunity to thank the panelists and also the distinguished audience for their patient hearing. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.